Hello out there. Just gonna wait for a couple of people to join us, hopefully. Get this kicking off. Oh dear. Hello, how's it going, everybody? People are starting to join now. This is gonna be the Walking Tours Belfast joined. Paul, if that's you, if you wanna just ask to join, I'll accept you into the call. Oh, there we go. There we go, accepted. So Paul should be joining us any second now. Click. There we go. How's it going, Paul?
Fantastic, mate. Thank you, and you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Enjoying the
Brilliant.
sunshine here, so it's dead set out in the
Mate,
sunny house.
it's sunny, but it's cold.
Yeah, it's a wee bit chilly, but it's nicer than it was anyway. It's better than it being pissing down.
But here, what we do know, Connor, there's better days ahead.
100%. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, I think. Focus on sort of the positives and stuff of the city rather than the negatives that's portrayed in the media a lot of the time,
We have plenty of them. So it's
Just waiting for young Connor, other Connor, with the simpler spelling to come into
and Connor, are you giving away your age here, Connor?
No, I
Because
think
I know what age.
I think he's 2 years older than me, actually. Hey, Connor, what's happening?
That my lads all good?
Yeah, not too bad.
Fantastic.
I was just talking to Paul about the nice weather, and we're talking about it's quite a good setting for our talk this evening. We're talking about positive Belfast, not the pissing down rain, ratting, all the crap that's been going on,
Still Baltic, still cold. Only messing. That would be positive.
That's because you don't have the beard anymore, Connor. Reason.
I know, you feel it more. That's why I'm growing the hair though. To balance it out. Isn't that right, Paul?
This is it, Connor. Reality sucks.
So everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. We're getting drips and drabs, people still joining, okay? But we're on here to talk about Belfast in general. So I've got two of the best tour guides in the city here on with me. Connor from Belfast Hidden Tours. I've got Paul from Walking Tours Belfast. So we're gonna sort of talk about different things in the city. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. We've seen what Belfast has in terms of the negative side this week. There's been not great stuff happening, and it's not been a proud moment for the city. We don't want to go back to any of that crap anymore. I think we're all probably agreed with that. So we're going to talk about the positives. And I'll start. Paul, do you want to start off by telling us a wee bit about you and what you do and your sort of side of things while I have a little beer here?
Absolutely, Connor.
Yeah. Guys,
hello. My name's Paul Moyer, and yes, I'm a part of an association of guides called Walking Tours Belfast. We simply just try and provide a service covering many different subjects on the city. But we really what makes us tick is what makes people smile, and we love the beautiful things in Belfast, and again, we know that we're in a position to be an ambassador. We're also in a position to give a lasting impression on the city. So, particularly for visitors, it would be our intention to give them as the best impression of Belfast, and smiles. Everybody loves a smile. Everybody loves a laugh. So again, we try and incorporate a bit of humour and a bit of history, and again the street art. We in tour guiding we have a thing called the TVP, and it's a top visual point. So we simply try and break that down. We'll try and give a narrative of, particularly on the street art, we'll depict that street art. We'll give a narrative. We'll try and find a connection between the people and the street art, the visitors. But yeah, basically I walk about and I bend people's ears, and I absolutely live the dream, and it's a city that makes me tick, it's a passion, it's a love, I'm very fortunate to be in that position, so but yeah, I provide walking tours, and I don't pigeonhole myself with one subject, we try and broaden our horizons, and
that's a good point, actually, because I think there's a few tour companies probably around the world. You get the same in each city. They focus on sort of the doom and gloom of a place, and they sort of use that almost as a perspective to sell their tours and things. And I think it's good to have a fresher sort of scene of things, and especially both your sort of tours are a little bit different in that way, aren't they? They sort of focus on different things in the city. As you said, the street art is a huge up and coming scene here.
Absolutely, Connor. I don't think people appreciate the street art that we have in the city. Do you know, the artists that come to do this, they're world-renowned artists. Do you know, they're international artists. They've painted in some of the major cities in the world, and these guys have an interest in coming to paint in Belfast.
Yeah.
You know, we have a long history of the walls talking to us. You know, and we've carried that on. We had a kind of a rundown city for a while, and we had a lot of blank canvas walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which were perfect for the street art. And again, the street art incorporates, it could be social problems, it could be political problems, it could be just a cultural problem. But really, the street art is an expression. You know, it's a message that somebody wants to tell you, and it's brilliant it's brilliant learning about it, but it's also brilliant sharing the narrative with people. Because it's kind of like an elementary moment. You know, they see the art, but they don't know what it means. And it's nice to be able to share those stories with them.
And Connor, you live, well, I don't know if you live right now, but you lived around the Peace Walls, didn't you? As an hour?
Yeah, I'm only 2 streets away from an interface area. And then Paul's interest in history is he's from one of the interface areas and met his wife on the interface. So Paul had more historical experience of the Peace Walls, but in terms of the art, as Paul was saying, there's a massive contrast from probably the political messages that you get in inner Belfast, which are great themselves, but in the city centre, it's a lot more message of hope and art for art's sake. And as Paul said, there's a lot of hidden meanings behind a lot of the pieces. So I know that Paul and Larry do a great job on identifying that and explaining that narrative. So it's for me, it's one of the big positives of the new Belfast is the street art.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually had a world-renowned artist that was just there last week. So Dan Kitchener painted that one on Enfield Street, just off the Shankill, isn't it? Enfield Street, I think. So there's a fantastic new piece. He's already got one in town, down around the back of St Anne's Cathedral. I can't remember what that street's called.
Talbot Street.
Is it? Yeah. So that's one of my favourite pieces in the city. And he's moved up into sort of more outskirts rather than the city centre. He's verged out of the city centre now, which is good to see. And
well, if I can just comment on that there. That there piece of art on Enfield Street, painted by Dan Kitchener, it was funded by the local community. You know, that was, again, Belfast City Council, I'm sure they had a part to play in it, but the guy who owned the premises, it was a butcher's, he employed him, but you also had our city, which is an interface area and an interface community group. They also have a hidden message in it. So there is a hidden message in that there art.
Yeah.
You know, but here's a fantastic piece.
Is it New York?
I've
only seen it a couple of times. Is it New York or is it just a city scene?
It's the black taxi, the streetscape.
Streetscape.
Looks like Shinjuku.
And again, Dan Kitchener does a lot of Japanese themed.
Yeah.
So again, you're looking at a Japanese mural just on the middle of the Shankill Road.
Exactly.
It's surreal. But here, I think people there are now starting to realise, listen, this is an amazing piece of art. You know, and the people on that local community, they know the message in it. You know, that one of the messages is a reference on the number plate. You know, and that's a reference to the guy who owned the butchers and who also funded it.
Is that what it was? Because he alluded to that in the comments he put on it, but I wasn't sure what
so
the message was.
The butcher's name is called Hugh Linton's, and the number plate is HWL 1970.
Did he mention something about the black taxi also? There was a black taxi that went to like Tokyo or something like that, or something. He mentioned something about the black taxi reference itself, not just being Belfast, but there was one that was sent to Tokyo.
Well, the message in the mural is that you can go anywhere.
Is that what it was? Maybe, yeah.
I don't know if they managed to get a black taxi to Tokyo. You know, I'm an Uber driver, so I don't know how much it would cost.
Yeah. But
great job.
Great. And the thing is about this as well, like, I mean, usually the areas with the old school sort of murals and stuff, and I don't mean to generalize it all here, but usually they're areas with a lot of socio-economic problems.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the good thing about bringing these sort of basically street gallery pieces, street art pieces into the communities. It's bringing tourism in. It's probably helping local people, helping out with the murals, or maybe learning something from the artist, and just a whole trickle down effect, which is quite good as well, I think.
Well, absolutely. You look at some of the most, for example, you can look at Bethlehem, and Bethlehem's another city that leads the way with street art. And you can definitely compare those conflicting cities with Belfast. Yes, absolutely. Again, an international street artist coming to paint on your neighbourhood, in your neighbourhood, which is not always the best neighbourhoods. It's a breath of fresh air. It's something that gives an alternative to any political message. And right now, alternatives is what we need.
I think what it should be probably said is that, we still have that culture of the murals, and I think that it would still be a shame in certain ways if that was lost too. That sort of design of things. Some of them are striking. Some of them are amazing.
But absolutely, Conor, the murals painting on walls is a tradition.
Yeah.
In Belfast, and should we leave that bit of history behind? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Can we progress on it, and grow that message, because at the end of the day, murals are expressions. They're messages that community wants you to know. There's a reference in that mural. We just need to grow that message and try and transist it from political. But I wouldn't say that we need to leave the political murals behind, because some of the political murals, there is a historical reference in them. Mm-hmm. Again, we can look at a political mural of Edward Carson. That's history, or we can look at a political mural of paramilitaries. Mm-hmm. There's contrast there of political murals, but I think we have them now. I just think we need to change the message, and
I think it's attractive to visitors and to the artists that we do have that traditional art and the history of the mural artists. So it's got to go inside each other. And then, as Paul said, it could easily inspire people from those communities to take up art. And a lot of the street artists coming through Belfast in the last 3-4 years are young people from those areas. I think, Paul, you probably know Wee Nools.
Yeah.
East Belfast, and she was like, one of her pieces of art was a great piece of art recently, and it was destroyed because it was a political message in the city centre. And sometimes
Conor, I might dispute that might have been a social message.
Mm-hmm. That's what made it, yeah. But even still, it's walking on dodgy grounds in city centre.
Having to do that, and society was wrong when they destroyed it. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to keep people happy with something so visual, and it doesn't matter how graphic or what that visual was. If it's on a wall, it's still visual, and but it's difficult to keep everybody happy, and I have noticed that there, particularly when you're dealing with political murals, people. I'm in no way an enforcer of a story, but people have their own opinions on them, and they're entitled to have that opinion.
I think, Conor, the usual story for us tour guides when we're bringing people about was say there's no political messages in the city centre apart from Ulster suffered enough, no tapas sunbathing. And that's it. That's the only thing politically that we sort of look at. The Lara McKee one again was a really good piece of art. That brought a narrative to the streets again that needed to be told. So I'm all for all the messages, wherever they are.
Can I also add, Conor, as well, like through our time doing the street art tours, we've got to network with the artists. Mm-hmm. And again, like Laurie who runs our Instagram, social media, we're sometimes in first name terms with them. And you know what, we feel very lucky by that. Yeah. It's these guys they get a warm welcome to Belfast, and as us as tour guides, we want to network with them because that's where we're getting the first-hand story. They're telling us the narrative that they're trying to get across. So again, Laurie does a great job in networking with them on that end, and I come down with a tin of Coke and a packet of Chris.
Good team.
Teamwork.
And before we move on to the next topic, what do you think would be do you have a favourite? Do you have a favourite street art piece within the city? Don't worry about offending people in terms of like the artist going. Well,
Mine would be Pandora's Jar beside the Irish News, where the woman sniffing the bin and the incense and comes to life. Paul, do you know more about that one?
Pandora's Jar, yeah. So that there's on the side of the Irish News office. And again, it's Pandora's Jar. So again, it's poking a stick at journalism. Like the Irish News motto is true to our words. So again, like if you use the example of a journalist poking a stick, thinking there might be a story there, and then eventually that story develops, and then things grow. But it's hard for me to pick a favourite because they change so often, you know. But my favourite would be I love sharing a story, and again it's the Mario one, and it's also in Talbot Street, and I would love to have the imagery here for you, but it's by a French artist, and it's the image of a young boy holding the dove.
Oh yeah.
That dove, again, it's relevant to tonight's present times. In that dove, it's been shot by 2 arrows. Both representing the two main denominations. But again, that message in that there is saying that religion causes war. You know, it causes hurt. It kills peace. But we can go to another part of the city, Kelly Cellars, Bank Square, and we will also have a religious sort of message there, and it's on the back of a Presbyterian church, facing a Catholic church of a young girl praying. You know, and I love the message, and that's called a prayer and a wish. So I love the message of a prayer and a wish. I love to wish and hope for a better day, but I understand that mural as well. So it's difficult for me to pick one. You know, I love them all. You know, I don't discriminate against street art.
What about you, Connor?
Yeah.
I've said I really like that Dan Kitchener one on Calendar Street because I don't know, it's just I really like Japanese culture as well, and I'm very like sci-fi fan as well. So that Blade Runner sort of look of Shinjuku sort of.
Yeah. Got that.
It's mesmerizing that one. It's just so much detail on that.
I believe it's called Blurry Eyed.
That's the one. You're right. It is.
Blurry Eyed.
That's why you use it in tour guides. You see.
Thank
it
you.
looks good after a few years. It looks real.
Oh, yeah. 100%. It does just walk into the taxi.
That's where Paul gets all the super jobs.
Paul,
you still director at Belfast?
Well, I'll never say no, Connor. Always number one.
That one you were talking about, Paul, the one with the dove and the 2 arrows. Do you know who the model of that one was?
Yeah, guys, do you want to know what? And I'm glad you brought that up, Connor, because Seedhead Arts and Untitled, again, they have changed the image of Belfast, and here they deserve a lot of credit, you know. And here, but the thing is, what they've done, we'll be telling their story for the foreseeable future because they planted that seed, you know. Seedhead Arts planted that seed, and here, and Adam should be very proud of himself.
And he
has brought it.
Well, I mean, he's done his son a favour because he says he brings girls there on the first date.
Is that right?
That's me up there.
Right here. Here he brought a bird there before. That's not the first bird he had there.
Hopefully it's a better ending for the next one.
He killed a bird.
But you were Connor, you were saying about talking about Instagram and tourism and how it sort of affected the scene going forward. Not even just Instagram, but social media in general. Would any of you like to touch on that and sort of how it's improved the city, or how even it's maybe has negative effects on things too, if you want to touch on that too?
I think it's all positive. Like, most people now are taking good photos of the city, do you know what I mean? So anyone's coming in or doing research, not even off as tour guides yourself, you know, there's people out there documenting the city in a real good way. Look at Botanic Gardens or Cave Hill or, you know, over Titanic, they're all gorgeous looking places. So Instagram's perfect for it. Walking tours Belfast have been flying with a lot of the stuff they've been doing over the last year or two, I'd say. Putting a lot of effort, especially Larry, Paul, wouldn't it be? Larry does a lot of
absolutely. Listen, Larry does a lot of groundwork, you know. And he's a fantastic script writer. You know, he writes it from the heart. You know, and then sometimes he's a wee bit of a comical genius as well, you know. But here, speaking of if I can give a wee point in that there, I think social media has been amazing for the city.
Yeah.
Do you know, like you look at Commercial Court, Hill Street, we have the most Instagram street in Ireland. Do you know, the umbrellas are amazing. Do you know, I like lights. Do you know, lights always make us, and City Hall now, do you know, again, they put on a wonderful light show at times.
Yeah.
I think Lights, Paul, is going to be a long-term thing. It's called City of Illumination. It's like a strategy, so there's going to be more. So I think this Christmas with lockdown, you've seen a lot of stuff happening. Hopefully the city just keeps adding and adding to the lights. It makes a difference. The other thing with Belfast is perception of being unfriendly and stuff. We're not, but we all know that. But when a visitor comes in and they might go to a certain part of town, which is a bit dark, the more life and more business comes in, the better the city is as a tourist destination. And Cathedral Court is one of the prime examples of that.
But see, even on that point, like, I mean, sometimes in these areas, like if somebody from some community walks into another community, there might be a bit of a difficulty, okay? But see, anytime I see tourists in certain areas, like even like just outside the city centre, people are lovely. They just want to help them out. They want to show them the directions, do this and that. So I think we need to get a message out there that even if they do wander off the beaten track a little bit, I mean, we're one of the safest cities in Europe, and that's a fact. That's insurance purposes, things like that. We have very, very low petty crime in this city. And, you know, you see the big things like we've seen this week, but you see that sort of discontent all over the world, you know, and it doesn't get half the focus that we do because of our past. And I don't think that's fair sometimes in the media, you know.
I think
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Connor.
Go ahead, Paul, you go first.
Oh, listen, you're absolutely right, Connor. There is a perception that there is a risk of danger when you leave city centre. Do you know, but as we know, the people of Belfast are some of the warmest people in the world. Do you know, if you have a pair of ears, they'll talk to you. Me and Connor, we have certificates for talking to people. People in Belfast, they don't need certificates. Do you know, they genuinely are gifted at gab. They genuinely are nice people. And they're the salt of the earth. And it doesn't matter what community you go into. Do you know, 99% of these people will go out of their way, do you know, and they'll go out of their way to help you. Because they also understand, I believe, that the impression that people have of Belfast, you know, they have bombs and bullets. You know, but of Belfast now, it's not that's the past, you know. We've came a long way to change that image, you know, and I think we'll keep going to change the image. I think we've came too far to lose.
Community tours was getting big, Connor, so tours of your local area. And tour guides and some of the members were doing Lower Ormo and Ormo walking tours. So we're all exploring our own areas. Belfast is titchy as well, so we want people to go to north, east, south and west. We don't want to just sit in one area. Get out and about and see whatever we're about.
100%. And you can explore half the city in a day if you want to. You know, full day. It's one of the most walkable cities in Europe. That's what people need to realise as well. It's not hilly in the city centre or anything too. So it reminds you kind of like if you've ever been to Liverpool. Liverpool's quite a walkable city as well. Very, very similar to that, I think. And it's the dock sort of thing where it's going down into the basin. So it's quite flat everywhere. So it's a great city. Like, you know. Go ahead.
Absolutely. You also have the beauty of the landscape, you know, the geography of Belfast, where it lies, you know. There's not many places in Belfast where you can't see a hill, you know, or a mountain. It's gorgeous, you know, and people see that there. And then you're right to say on it being a walkable city, you know. It's a great way to navigate the city by using those hills, you know, and
there's even last week, Paul, I was out with Ken and Aidan up the Conswater Greenway. Even places like that, there's been big investment to connect the Greenway parts of the city. Down near the St. Gauls, what do you call it, Milltown? Bog Meadows, there's work getting done as well. So it's all going to be better and better.
Quite a few allotments I saw off that too, I think, around the Bog Meadows and stuff. There is people growing stuff and doing this and that.
Legal stuff.
Legal stuff, yeah, exactly.
Is that right, Paul?
Absolutely.
Well, I think, I mean, I've made this page via Instagram, as we're touching on social media again. I started this page in 2016. And I think Connor probably told you my story about setting up. I don't know if it did Paul, but like I was sort of walking around town, and just looking at old decrepit buildings, maybe on the way home from work, and just wondering sort of what they were. And then did my own research on Google, just looked up a few things, maybe checked out some different sources, articles, different things like that, even like pages like yourselves, sharing a wee bit of history and stuff, and find out what it was. And then I thought it would be a good idea maybe to start a page, do something like that. So probably quite similar to you. Just I don't know what your history is in terms of history, education wise, Paul, but like I did it at A level and GCSE, but it's a very amateurish start for myself. I think Connor, you sort of said that you would consider yourself an amateur historian in terms of not being like university qualified in it and things like that. Yeah. Well, what's your sort of background, Paul, on that?
I worked for an engineering company for 18 years,
Yeah.
and I took a voluntary redundancy in 2017.
Mhm.
And I was at a loose end. I loved Belfast. It was what it was. Did I love history? I never really had the time to focus on history. But one day my wife came in to me and she says, "You're going to love this." And I was like, "What's that?" And she had this information leaflet from Belfast Met, and it says, "Do you love talking?" And the eyebrows went up. And I was like, "Yes." "Do you love Belfast? Would you like to be a Belfast tour guide?" So I went to Belfast Met. I applied to be on the course, and I went to Belfast Met, and I started to meet other tour guides who came from different backgrounds, who came from and had different skills. And it just basically developed from there. I realised I was a talking machine. I realised that I want to be an ambassador. I realised that I love people. I realised many things, and I haven't worked a day since.
It's fantastic. And you're
Doesn't work. He doesn't see it as work. He just sees it as chatting.
Absolutely. And, if I could make money off doing this on this page, like I would do it in a heartbeat.
Keep it. It'll happen. Happen, Connor. Keep the dream alive.
It's fantastic. Like though, what you do.
Well, that's where I met Paul, was from college. So it was me and him and Brian Irvine, David Irvine's brother. We sort of headed off at the back of the class, back of the bus crew. Wasn't that right, Paul?
Yeah.
Too much talking.
Here, I mean, that's what you need as a tour guide, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what? It's a good skill to have.
You cater your accent with tourists from overseas.
Connor, it's funny you should say that there. So I'll go back. I worked in a factory pretty much for 18 years. When I left that factory, people couldn't understand me. The tutor I had in the college, she suggested that I go back to do my education. So I went back and done my GCSE English, because I understood that my spoken English is not the spoken English that people understand. and again, I've had some awkward moments where people ask me, "What is that word?" And I soon realised you kind of have to play it two ways. People want you to be formal, but they want you to be yourself. Yeah. They want to hear these colloquialisms. They want to hear that Belfast accent. Yeah. But they also want to understand you. And
you go to Rome.
I think Paul recently started taking phrases from different countries, and when you're in the car, isn't that right? The Chinese phrases, all sorts.
I thought you were doing teaching lessons.
Oh, jeez. I am past that. I'm past that. No, I absolutely, again, I love everybody. Should it be for Chinese people, the Asian, the anybody, and then simply if I can learn a small phrase like "good morning" or "goodbye" or "see you soon" or "hello," in many different languages, it goes a long way. But keep in mind, Connor, I'm also an Uber driver, so it also goes a long way with my Uber rating.
Yeah.
So this is the.
I'm trying to look at the comments here to see if there's any questions on that. Oh geez,
weird names pop up.
Yeah.
I think I seen Pat Catney's daughter Catherine on there, Connor, that you know.
Oh, was that right? Did she come up there? I didn't see her there.
Yeah.
Kat, if you're still on, say hello there. She's living in Germany at the moment. So
Paul from Belfast Whiskey Week.
Yep, absolutely. He says so many great buildings in Belfast full of architectural beauty. I 100% agree. She wanted you out of the house, Paul. That's what NI Tour Inquiry said. How often do you say, "know what I mean"?
Situation.
Situation.
Yeah.
But I think next one you were sort of touching on, Connor, was the impact of tourism in Belfast. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Like it's been a huge impact. You know, it's completely changed the face of the city. From the funding that we've gotten from the likes of the EU and even local government and local organisations, lottery funding, things like that, to just the influx of tourists. Now that we're a completely open sort of country in this sort of way, there's no troubles anymore. Good Friday Agreement obviously was a turning sort of point for that. 25 years, isn't it? Not too.
Yeah, I think even from Good Friday Agreement, even 20 years after that, like we've came on massive, and tourism has to be one of the sort of success stories from where we've been, because people do come here, want to know what happened or where we're at, but then they see everything else that we have to offer, and most importantly, it's our people. The people love hearing the stories and meeting us. So if we didn't have peace, we wouldn't be where we are, and it is part of the story. Even what's happened recently, you know, me and Paul will be bringing groups up the Shankill more than likely this summer, walking tours, and we'll have to explain what happened and give our best shot at explaining the situation. But it's amazing where we're at, and the awards that we've won, just not even Belfast, but Northern Ireland as a destination, is fantastic. So keep her lit. It's going to come back.
100% agree. What do you think, Paul?
Absolutely. Do you want to hear, can I just, as you mentioned, 25 years, the Good Friday Agreement. It was also my first opportunity to vote. So again, that was 25 years ago. Really important, because I think the turning point was Game of Thrones. So the Game of Thrones impact of Northern Ireland, well, the legacy will last for a long time, you know. I think Game of Thrones is one of the things that opened the doors to Belfast, you know. People didn't care about bombs and bullets no more. They wanted to see threesomes and dragons, you know. But here, I think single-handedly, Game of Thrones has been one of the most important impacts from the Good Friday Agreement. And again, listen, and also the change of the culture in the Belfast city centre. You know, particularly the street art, particularly people investing in the city.
The bars. Connor would be a big supporter of what the bars have done recently as well, Paul. It's been amazing.
We'll hear one of the most comments that people would give to me regarding the pubs. And they love the many different entrepreneurial things in the pubs. Again, one pub will be different from the next pub. And it's fine cities, different than cities in England, where they'll kind of follow the same process of pubs, mainly Irish pubs along those lines. But they come to Belfast and they see many different themes of pubs, and that there would be a big compliment that I would find people to give the city.
We're not afraid to try new things in terms of bar scene and things like that, you know. And someone's commented on threesomes and dragons there. That's your autobiography name.
I'm taking that off. I know, I'm talking about Game of Thrones, just threesomes and dragons. Yeah. That's what I'm not.
But no, you're right, Connor. I think what the bars have done, they've adapted so well during this year. They've tried their best, and hospitality has really got stung. I'm not going to get into the political side of things. I'm not going to get in an argument about this and that, you know. But it's been a tough time, no matter what way you look at it. You know, it's the bars have adapted by doing takeaway pints, by serving deliveries. You know, obviously the pint man down in Hatfield delivering. I got that once or twice during last summer. I was hankering for a draft Guinness at one point. But you know, the thing that they bring to the city is just the atmosphere of the bars. I think you look at the likes of like Bill's Bar. I know kind of you know that's one of my favorite bars. Like, there's one of the best kinds of Guinness in the whole island, I'm gonna say. All right. I'm not going to go with other bars because I think I'll get a bit controversial here with that. People get very touchy. But I just think that the atmosphere of it, like, it's a tiny bar, but it's just so unique. Like, having that sort of Flatiron building in our city, that was before the New York Flatiron too, is just incredible to see architecture and different buildings like that. And it's just such a wide range of different bars and different restaurants and everything in the city. So if you are a tourist and you're watching this now or later on, Belfast is definitely a city you need to visit. It's a bucket list city, I think, for people outside of it, in my opinion.
Even for this summer and the next year, it's the locals who are supporting those businesses as well. Do you know, we sometimes take for granted how much good restaurants and good pubs we have.
Yep.
And live music. Can't wait to hear live music. And for visitors coming in, they're like, what's going on with all this live music? You don't get this in other cities. So it's again, maybe the lockdowns helped us look at what we have and go, right, let's celebrate it more and let's get more people in and keep it lit and keep it coming.
See, I think we're the underrated part of Ireland as a whole, I think. And I don't think it's very fair sometimes because obviously the tourists from abroad will look at Dublin, Galway, even like down by Cork and Kerry and different places like that, and we'll see the cliffs of Moher. But I mean, look at all the stuff we've got up here as well, and I think that this whole island approach in terms of tourism is a good thing. I think that all the bodies should link together to really focus on getting in money in and the visitors in and everything else to this island because it's spectacular up here, and I don't think that we get the kudos that we really deserve, to be honest with you.
The momentum there, though, the big companies and who are massive in tourism are starting to go, let's get to Belfast, use Belfast as a base, have a couple of days around here, so it's great for all the other counties as well. If people come here as a base, they'll go to County Down, County Fermanagh. But there's a big momentum of especially American companies wanting to spend more time in Belfast, and it's probably the reputation. It's probably took 10 years to have that knock-on effect to go, do you know what? That's a great place to see and visit rather than having worries about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cannibal here, 10 years ago, we probably didn't have a foundation for tourism. 10 years ago, it was unlikely we had as many certified tour guides. Yep. The city's changed a lot in 10 years, particularly the pubs and the hospitality end of it, hotels. But yeah, the last 10 years has been big. And I also think they choose here for the cost reason. Belfast, I would say, is generally cheaper than most of the other cities 100%. That they would dock. So again, if it's cheaper for them to dock here, well, then they're possibly making more of a profit, But I think there is an attraction of the cost in Belfast also while they come, and we have everything here. That's why Game of Thrones came here, because it's all here. It's good people. Reasonably good transport, and reasonably cost of living.
And you were touching on the Americans there, Connor. Somebody actually asked in the comments there, what do Irish think of Americans trying to visit Ireland and enjoy the culture ancestry? I think it's a good thing, I think it's good to explore your roots in that way. But as tour guides, do you see a lot of Americans asking questions in terms of Irish Americans and stuff? Or? Yeah,
even the Scottish ancestry as well. So the Ulster Scots and the Irish, do you know what I mean? The two different cultures have been a big, massive part of Americans' history and culture. So there's a big connection between the whiskies to the music to even some of the foods at different places. So the Americans do want to really indulge themselves into our culture. When we do our cultural show, the Belfast Story, it's the Americans are the ones who are after, just going on and on about how great our music and our songs are. So, yeah, I think it's 30-40% of the market, Paul, is it, usually?
Well, guys, genealogy is pretty huge, and people come to Ireland simply because of their ancestors being here, or their origins, their roots being here is massive.
Freeze up. Oh, he's frozen. Oh no.
He's gone.
We've lost him.
But the American market's definitely the biggest traditionally for us. I think 30-40% of the market is North American, Canada, America. And then after that, it's Germany, France, and UK, Republic of Ireland.
I think I see a lot of more Asian tourists now coming off the cruise ships and things, which is good to see. I think Japanese tourists are quite big over here. Hello, Paul. Welcome back.
Yes, sorry about that, guys.
There's a thing called emerging markets, Connor, which is like China, India. They're known as emerging markets, where they've got a lot more wealth now and started traveling. So again, it's a new industry for them and for us. So it's great to see the Chinese groups coming in and big numbers as well.
So just to touch on that there as well, Americans are mad for whiskey, and the Japanese are also mad for whiskey. But again, Belfast, we have had our whiskey history.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good to see actually. I believe that in Crumlin Road Jail we're going to have a whiskey O'Connell's distillery. You know, so again that's another attraction for the future.
Sarah might be watching Mac Connell's.
Mac Connell's.
Okay.
Thank you, Connor.
But the whiskey and Paul's from Belfast Whiskey Week. There's the whiskey industry here is massive, Paul, and again for us as tourists, it'll become part of our day-to-day stuff that we will be bringing people to these whiskey distilleries.
Yeah.
The Belfast
which is also within walking distance, you know, which is pretty good, the city centre. You know, it's actually encouraging seeing people walk up the Crumlin Road Jail, you know, because they're leaving their comfort zone off city centre. And it's only a mile up the road. But here, I think the location's fantastic. And Crumlin Road Prison has also done a really good job. You know, it's given an alternative. Now, dark tourism in Belfast, as we know, is pretty big. You know, Titanic, Troubles, Game of Thrones, prison. You know, but here, the prison, they've done fantastic, I think, you know, and they tell good stories and everybody seems to be happy coming out of it.
And the future tourism was the next sort of topic we were going to touch on. You spoke about the whiskey industry, Connor. Would you like to touch on that a wee bit further? Like you were talking about to me before about Dunville, especially, and the sort of influx of that coming back. That's obviously an old distillery that used to be in Belfast, didn't it?
Just even with the likes of McConnell's coming back and Dunville's, you know, they were two of the biggest producers of whiskey at one stage. Belfast, I think it was me and Paul, a bit rusty. I think it was 60% of the whiskey coming out of Ireland came from Belfast. So that was 1901 maybe. So it's not that long ago that we were probably the biggest producer of whiskey in the world, possibly. And just to bring that history back and the pride in it, I think it's more the pride. So the more stuff that Belfast starts believing in itself, the better it's going to get. The easier it is for us to go and pick. Paul's probably laughing because we could go around the town and say stuff. You're probably the same, Connor, and someone would go, "Ah, you're talking crap," or "What are you on about?" Yep. You have to brush that off. That old Belfast but did you just say this? Just okay. There's always a but. Just work away. So it's just being positive, and the whiskey is one of them. There's big investments coming into the city. The aquarium, Belfast Visitor Experience Plan is a 10-year plan with the council doing stuff. So it's looking good.
And Paul, what do you think future tourism Belfast? Anything comes to mind for you that you're excited about?
I'm excited about absolutely everything. No, I think Belfast, there's a lot of future tourism. Me simply at the minute, I'm not really looking at tourists. You know, I'm looking at the people who are already here. You know, and as like Connor touched on, community tours. You know, engaging people with where they live. You know, sharing stories of the mills, sharing stories of factories, sharing stories of Dunville Park. You know, so I think the tourists, the visitors, our customers, they're already here. You know, we also have corporate. Again, we have to aim for back to work events. You know, team building. I just think that's where I would be looking more at the minute. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'd still not work with Airbnbs. I'd not work with hotels. You know, but I think going forward, it's going to be walking tours. Previously, I would have done a lot of driving tours. You know, me and Connor, we would have both jumped on buses. Our coaches have they had visited Belfast. I think going forward, we're maybe a year or two away from that again. You know, I don't think people will be comfortable sitting on a bus.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of uncertainty. You know, but there is a cruise ship coming in here pretty soon, and suppose we can kind of take that as an example. You know, if they get off the cruise ship and they get on a bus, then maybe people are comfortable doing that going forward. But the city has.
Go ahead there.
Go ahead.
I think for like the next year as well, Paul's touched on is like we are going to be relying a lot of the guides on locals. So do you mean this summer if you're not getting away on holidays, get in touch with like with Belfast Hidden Tours or Walking Tours Belfast, and we can take tours safely outside. We have an advantage of doing walking tours outside. Yeah. But after that as well, me and Paul and Larry, we've had plenty of experience working doing corporate events and stuff, and we might have to tap into the business market here locally to keep going. But we will have I'd say we'll have 4 months of all right trade this summer, but we'll just have to hang in.
That's fair. And what sort of things would you do in the corporate events? Would you like to give a little bit of a plug for yourselves and what you can offer? Just in case
mine used to be pubs, going into pubs, but not at the moment. But it's just taking a work group out for a walking tour. It's the same as Paul. We can do them in the graveyards or the cathedral quarter. We can go to different parts of the city and do them. It's just what we can do at the moment is outside tours safely.
Birthdays, things like that too, I suppose.
Yeah,
would you get stag and hen groups going on the tours?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Okay,
vacation ones now,
Tourism Ireland, they forecast that the customers this year will be families. Families will now travel in packs. You will have the children, you will have the parents, you will have the grandparents. You will have their bubbles mixing. So again, I forecast to be a big part of our market also, families. And again, as a tour comes, we're going to then have to cater a tour that is suitable for all people. I go by my experience. If my kids aren't happy, they make my life unhappy. And the same will be for tours. And so again, you have to make it enjoyable for all.
We'll start bringing in pitch and toss or pitchy as a game for the families. Teach them how to. What do you got, Kirby? No, Kirby's too dangerous. Health and safety.
Kirby?
I'm not going to say do it now.
Might be okay now. It's the best time to play Kirby in lockdown. There's no cars in the roads.
Depends what street you're doing it in right now.
Is it not
Extreme
Kirby? What do you call it? Kirby? I call
Kirby.
Kirby. Kirby or Kirby?
Kirby.
What about pitch and toss or pitchy? What do you call pitch and toss?
A pitch and toss, yeah.
I'd probably say pitch and toss as well, I think. But it's definitely Kirby, Paul. What are you talking about? It's 2 against 1 here, so you're wrong.
Well, no.
Put out a poll. We'll put out a poll after the call. So touch on that. I always usually sort of wrap things up. Right? I asked you this, Connor. Right? I don't know if Connor gave you a heads up on this question. Okay, but do you have a favorite character from history from Belfast that you can think of at all, or somebody that comes to mind that's an interesting person?
Is this directed at me?
Yeah.
Favorite person. I am familiar with Mickey Marley.
Yeah.
Mickey Marley, he was a local to where I grew up. It's nostalgia that brings me more back to Mickey Marley. When I remember Mickey Marley, or when I hear Mickey Marley's roundabout the song, it kind of reminds me of when I first heard it. But historical figures, we have a lot. William Drennan is pretty cool. William Drennan, he was one of the United Irishmen.
Yeah.
But he was also the guy who gave the tag for the Emerald Isle. And he was also one of the first men to document the wash your hands. He instructed his sister on the first maternity hospital in Belfast, which was in Donegal Street, to instruct their patients and her staff when they leave the ward to wash their hands. And it's funny how relevant that is now, more than 200 years later. Because we're still being told to wash our hands.
There's a nice William Drennan mural down in New Lodge, Paul. Have you seen it before?
Yeah.
Nice. Just the history in the areas.
Yeah, he is an interesting figure, but we have a lot. I also very proud to tell people of Frank Partridge, who was the inventor of the defibrillator. And
that's one of my favorite characters.
Everybody in the world can relate to, and so I find a lot of pride in telling lots of things,
Lots of good inventors here. You've Lord Kelvin. You've got the guy who did vulcanized tires, I think. He was
John Lap.
Pneumatic tires done that.
Yeah.
Ginger ale. Cochrane and Cochrane ginger ale.
100%. Yeah, exactly. You've got loads of people so I think
said air conditioning before. Air conditioning.
Aye.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know,
Apple works.
last year it was during lockdown. I was bored. I couldn't really get out anywhere. Like it was the height of the first lockdown, though, in April, and I did a piece on like different histories and stuff like that. It was one of my first sort of lockdown videos and things, and it's really interesting to find out how many influential people around the world came from here. And that's not even just science; that's art, history.
Yeah. The new DC Heroes film or whatever, Connor, you're talking about sci-fi. Do you see when they said that's so much Kelvin? I was like, yeah.
I know.
There was isn't it say Kelvin? It was like, oh, he was born in Belfast.
Got you in the grounds of Ulster Museum or Botanic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It needs to be clean.
Can I just take this back a bit to the future and the impact of tourism?
Of course, yeah.
Currently up in Belfast Harbour Studios, they're filming the School of Good and Evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's going to be Netflix, one of Netflix's biggest expanses. You know, but here we're very lucky that this here is being filmed or being produced in Belfast. There might be a future market in that. You know,
has a new film, doesn't he, called Belfast? I think coming out.
Yeah.
This year.
So again, and Connor's already he's got into the film industry. There may possibly be a big market for filming.
He's not the fence.
Yeah.
That's my new say. I've been doing production work the last 2 months and the next 2 months, so who knows?
Got a gimbal.
I'm gonna be videoing Paul soon for Tour Guides and I. We're have to go around the country and video everybody. So Paul's gonna be Belfast, 100%. Is that right, Paul?
We'll all have to meet up at some point and do a little video together. I think that'll be good. I think me and Connor have a lot of plans, so Paul, obviously, you're welcome to join.
I want to go back to whenever you started Document Belfast. Man, I actually recall you starting it, and I recall some of your first videos. There was you and your partner, and you were walking down High Street making videos, you know, and I admired your ambitions. You know, I was
embarrassing back then.
Hats off, Connor. I thought the same watching you walking down the street. I was like, I could never do that. And then now I bought myself like a wee gimbal. You know what I mean? I'm going, I can do it. If you can do it, I can do it.
The wife, Tina, still doesn't like being on the videos, to be honest with you. I still feel uncomfortable in it. It's the Belfast mentality, I think. It's a scundern walking down the street. It's not America. See, when I was in New York, 2 years ago now, I was walking in the street, I was doing a little video, and I was fine. I was so comfortable because nobody gave a shit. But see here, like, what's he doing? Why is he talking to the camera? What's he doing there? You know, shouting things at you in the background and stuff. And I wouldn't change that, to be honest with you. I do like that about Belfast too.
It keeps us grounded, so it does. It's the Belfast way. You can't get ahead of yourself.
100%. But I think I'll probably wrap up there unless there's any final sort of thoughts you guys want to sort of give out or.
Just thanks, but I think Paul and Larry again in a few weeks, whenever we can get out or something, they can maybe explore the street art stuff, and we can explore stuff as well. It's just good to have them involved because they do great work.
Yep, fantastic.
Listen, Connor, I want to thank you for the opportunity as well. So I haven't actually never done one of these before, so I'm a bit cautious. I thought maybe technical difficulties would have prevented it, but I got there, and but I do wish you every best and. Yeah. We do, me and Laurie, we plan to grow. You know, we plan to have a presence on Belfast in the streets. You know, we plan to possibly run tours several days a week. Mm-hmm. I feel that all tour guides and everybody's starting from a clean slate, and as they say, fail to prepare to fail. So we'll try and build now for possibly something in the future. You know,
and anybody watching here, if you are watching this after it, you know, just give these guys your support. Give all the local sort of industries the support. They're going to need a lot of help over next year to sort of recover from the previous year that we've had, you know. And these guys obviously have an amazing passion for the city. Much akin to my own, you know. I started this page for a reason because I love Belfast and I genuinely do believe it's a fantastic city and one of the best in the world to go to. So if you are planning a trip in future, even if you're over there in GB or even down south, come up to Belfast, see what we're about, and you'll have a great time, guaranteed. But yeah,
best small city in the world.
Yep, 100%. I agree. Well, thanks very much, guys, for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Connor. Pleasure.
See you later. Stay safe. See you later.
Yeah.